Well, I'll start my own business. How hard can it be? Bzzz. Bzzz. We'll see who brings in more honey.
He's thinking about bees again.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live, as always, from the Sunday Helmet Hall of Fame in my basement in Fort Collins, Colorado.
And I am Dan Simon, broadcasting live from the Studio Simon headquarters located in the former terminal building at Bowman Field, the oldest civil airport in the state of Kentucky. Now, Paul, Why do I introduce myself that way today?
Oh, historic Bowman Field is not a ballpark, as I have often said it sounds like, but no, it's an airfield where towers might get buzzed.
There you go.
Yeah. We're going to talk today about the brand new Ontario Tower Buzzers, an affiliate of the Los Angeles Dodgers, which you worked for 6 years, 6 seasons. You worked for the Dodgers?
6 seasons indeed.
And I bring this up because you and I are recording this the morning after the grisly demise of my Philadelphia Phillies baseball season at the hands of your Los Angeles Dodgers, even though you are a tried and true Yankees fan. So you're also licking some playoff wounds here as we enter into this episode.
Yes. It was not a good week for either of us with regard to our favorite teams, but having worked for the Dodgers for those 6 seasons, I will always be part of the Dodger family. So there was consolation in it being the Dodgers that won at the expense of the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, I don't want to linger on that one too much, Dan, because all the buzz in minor league baseball these days is your Tower Buzzers, this brand new team, the result of some shifting around of teams. The Modesto, I think I have this right, Modesto moved to the Inland Empire, where they're going to assume the mantle of the 66ers. The Inland Empire 66ers moved to Rancho Cucamonga, where they are going to take over the Quakes nickname. And Rancho Cucamonga, the Dodgers affiliate, moved to the brand new ballpark in Ontario, California, 40 miles east of Los Angeles. Is that right? 40 miles? It's pretty close to Los Angeles.
That's the approximate distance, yes.
Okay.
What you just described, all those moves, it's obviously I'm involved with all these moves because I was given the opportunity to create the identity for this team in Ontario. But the machinations necessary to do all that, I just don't understand them. Why didn't the team from Modesto just go to Ontario and then without all the other changes? I don't understand. When I say I don't understand it, it's not from the standpoint of I don't understand it. Why would they do that? Because it's not a problem, at least not for me or whatever. I don't know if it's a problem for anybody. But I don't understand why they didn't just leave all the other teams alone and make it simple. So
seems like that would have been simpler. Well, hey, we're going to talk to Alan Benavides, who is the brand new general manager of this team. And then guess what? Designer Dan Simon of Studio Simon is going to be on the episode. He's the gentleman who created this brand. So he's going to come talk about the work that he did on that. We're going to talk to Ranger Amy about bees. And there's a pretty good guess in my mind that Ranger Amy is going to mention butt wiggling at least once for reasons that she likes bees. And then Dan Simon, will be back with a Studio Simon Stumper. So this is a triple header for you, Dan. Let's jump in. Let's get to these interviews, and we'll talk to you later, and then we'll talk to you later on again. We'll see you in a bit.
See ya.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I am so pleased to be chatting once again about a decade after the fact. We can talk about that in a second with Alan Benavides, who is the general manager for the Ontario Tower Buzzers in Ontario, California. Alan, good morning. How you doing?
Good, Paul. How are you, man? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I'm doing really well. I appreciate you hopping on and talking about this brand new brand for a team That is the result of a bunch of sort of shifting around of teams out there in California. The end result of which was the Dodgers affiliate from Rancho Cucamonga relocating to Ontario in a brand new ballpark with a brand new brand, the Ontario Tower Buzzers. I'm going to start with a really high level question here. Why is a team in Ontario, California called the Tower Buzzers?
It's a good question. There was a lot of a lot of questions and wondering what the hell we were going to be. And we knew from the very beginning that the airport was going to be the naming rights sponsor for the stadium. So we play at ONT Field. The airport, which is just 4 miles north of the ballpark, plays a pivotal role in the growth of the city of Ontario. The city has experienced robust growth. The city owns the airport. Well, they operate it, I should say. And it has been one of the main reasons as to why the city of Ontario is able to do the things they're doing. Whether it's building this ballpark, building the new sports empire. And so we wanted to have some fun with the brand that kind of, had some aviation influence in it. So that's the reason why we went. There's probably more questions to that if you want to.
Well, I know that you all have said explicitly that the Tower Buzzers, that the nickname is a reference to the movie Top Gun, and the line where Maverick says to Goose, "Sorry, Goose, but it's time to buzz the tower." And then you cut to the tower, and the
coffee.
The stuffed suit sitting there drinking his coffee, and the plane goes by and he spills his coffee, and the iconic Tom Cruise character gets his win over the stuffed shirt. It's a funny line, an iconic line. This movie will be 40 years old by the time the Tower Buzzers take the field next year. What was the thinking in having this line from this movie from 40 years ago inspire this name?
Well, it's an iconic film, 40 years old, but the sequel came out 2 years ago, and the third one's going to be coming out in a couple of years. So the brand continues to live. And I think it's just a fun name. Look, there were other suggestions, right? People are assuming we're going to be the aviators, the pilots. Super boring names.
Yeah.
Super boring. Like, you and I have talked in minor league baseballs about coming up with creative, unique ideas. Look, the team's in Southern California. We're in the entertainment hub of the world. And so we wanted to have some reference to a really famous movie that included planes. Will the people end up calling us buzzers? Will they cut it in a nickname? Who knows? But it's a fun name. Merchandise has been flying off the shelves. People have been really poking at us on social media, which is a lot of fun. So I think it's been a great success. Financially, the merchandise has been off the charts. So you can judge it. You can either judge it by your Reddit scorecard, which we're losing, or you can read it by merchandise sales, which we're winning. So I'll take the merchandise.
Is that right? The Redditors, they're out there picking at you. That's true of every new minor league brand, though, right? Yeah. No minor league brand is safe from the Redditors.
No, and you know what? Like, I think for us, like, you've heard this many times, right? Like, we want people to love the brand. We want you to hate it. What we don't want you to do is not care about it. Right. And so, that's the goal, right, of marketing. And so I think for the most part, we've got a shop downtown in Ontario on Euclid, and it's busy, man. People crush it because we don't have a team store yet, right? The stadium's not done, and it's been constant traffic. So things are going well for us, and it's an interesting name, but I think in Southern California it plays personally.
Yeah. The decision to go with the bee. Obviously the bumblebee is the one doing the buzzing here. So you don't have an actual plane buzzing the tower. You've got a sort of metaphorical plane in this bee.
Yeah.
What were the conversations there to not have an actual plane in this aviation themed brand?
Well, I think it kind of comes down to the buzzers, right? What buzz is, it's kind of like this secondary idea on play on the name, right? And so that was the idea on that. And then we wanted to have a bee mascot, right? And so that was really the play on it. I think Dan had a great logo and concept. He came up with it. We loved it off the bat. I think it's a fun name, and it's a fun brand with the bee. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that concept moving forward in some of our marketing plans. Don't really want to give too much away. But we're definitely going to not just lean into the aviation, but also the bee part of our business. And how does that affect our brand? So obviously Maverick, our mascot, is this goofy looking bee that's got too small of wings and he can't fly. So he's always hanging out at O&T Field because he's just, obsessed with learning to fly. He's got that Finding Nemo character where, Finding Nemo had that small fin and he couldn't swim real fast. Same thing with Maverick. His wings are too small and he can't fly. So he's got his bomber jacket on. He's got his goggles on. And so he's just kind of like this goofy Muppet-like fanatic looking character. Does he look like a bee? Kind of, but he's goofy. He's funny, right? He's a mascot.
The last time you and I spoke was about 10 years ago, and we were talking about the Eugene Emeralds, which was a position that you had prior to this one. And when we spoke back then, the Emeralds had recently unveiled their Sasquatch logo, green, and they moved away from the one that they had when they were like a Padres affiliate. And when you and I spoke back then, I believe it was when they were a Cubs affiliate. That green Sasquatch, that brand, that Emeralds brand, really didn't have a ton to do with the Cubs. Really, anything to do with the Cubs.
It was actually the Padres at the time.
Was it the Padres?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that brand really had nothing to do with their parent club. This Tower Buzzers brand has a lot to do with the Dodgers. So you play not that far from Los Angeles. You've got the colors. There's one logo with the interlocking letters. Was it important to you in your role that this team be tied visually to their parent club in Los Angeles?
It's a good question. I think you've seen over the years teams like, back in the day used to like grab onto your affiliate and you would be like the so-and-so Dodgers or whatever. Like there's a lot of similarities between minor league brands and major league brands. And over the years, minor league baseball has really kind of become this powerhouse of like creative marketing and logos, and they've kind of strayed from that a bit, right? You think Trash Pandas, you think Storm, like they've done such a good job marketing these fun brands, right? Well, with the Dodgers, an iconic brand, like many other major league teams, but they're probably one of the top MLB teams, and they are well loved in Southern California, like well loved, right? And so yes, it was very important for us to pay homage and so that people knew that we are a Dodgers team, right? Like that is very important, while at the same time having a fun brand that we can market around and still be the Dodgers. You know what I mean? So that's where, I think, coming in with a Tower Buzzers, a Dodgers affiliate, yes, it's fun. And we're going to have a lot of fun with that over the years, rather than just being the Pilots. There's just more we can do with it. And I think over the years, and, maybe people continue, so those folks who hate it will continue to hate it. But I have a feeling that people are going to come around to it and they're going to love some of this silly stuff and fun minor league baseball atmosphere that we'll provide at the games.
First of all, I have to tell you, this conversation is more difficult for me than I am letting on, because I'm a Phillies fan, and this conversation is
terrible.
we are chatting after the morning after the untimely demise of my Phillies postseason hopes in disastrous fashion last night. So
man, wow, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I feel so bad for him.
Yeah. And I hope he doesn't, this is a total aside, but I hope that Orion Kirkring doesn't become the face of what was really a whole team failure, right? Like the bats were quiet. The manager, I think, did a really poor job. So congratulations to your Dodgers, the Tower Buzzers Dodgers, on that series win. Still waiting to see whether they're going to be playing the Cubs or the Brewers, who are tied at 2 right now. But yeah. So this conversation is a little hard for me.
I respect that. No, like Phillies are a great team. I was at the game on Wednesday where you guys shellacked us. So
well, that was the one that we got there.
Yeah.
But that, I do think that connection, especially with the the proximity to Los Angeles, is important for this team.
It's interesting. I was at the game on Wednesday and I had a Dodger jersey on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had my O&T, like the Dodger with the letters.
Yeah.
And I probably had over a couple dozen people stop me and be like, "Is that the new Ontario cap? Like, is that I don't know if they would have done that if we were something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, again, back to your point about branding and being tied to the Dodgers, like that blue cap with the white lettering, that Dan did a really great job making and building that cap. That was really cool. Anyways.
Yeah. Well, and we'll talk to Dan about that. I agree with you. The stair step interlocking ONT. ONT, of course, is the airport code for this airport that has been around for more than 100 years. That choosing to base this brand around that airport created a lot of opportunities for that sort of thing, right? Like this is, it's a
Yeah,
centerpiece of the town.
yeah, it is the centerpiece of the town. And one of the things about the airport, look, we're obviously like Tower Buzzers, Top Gun. It's like Miramar, San Diego. We're like fairly far away from that. Call it 50 miles, 60 miles away from that, right? But what's interesting about the Ontario airport is that in the 40s, it's been around like 100 years, but in the 40s, after Pearl Harbor, the Navy moved their planes into Ontario, and that's what got the airport going because they were worried about, after Pearl Harbor, they were worried that there might be an attack on the coast.
Mhm.
And so they moved their P-38s and the P-51s. They increased the runways and they put our planes out there. And that's really the rebirth of the Ontario airport where it kind of took off from there. And so we have a P-38 in our left field. It's on a pedestal. The propellers are going to go off when home runs are hit. Like it's like there's a lot of aviation themes in our ballpark that will make a lot of sense to people when they come and they'll be like, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's cool to be able to make that connection with, the history and that's one of the fun things about these minor league brands. Alan, I have one more question for you here,
Yeah.
which is I think a lot of people saw this name and thought, why is there a Dodgers affiliate in Canada? How many people did you hear from who were like, wait a minute, Ontario where? Ontario, Canada? Ontario? I didn't know there was an Ontario, California.
That's so funny, Paul. A lot. And so, there's a funny team, there's the Vancouver Canadians, right?
Sure.
And there's Vancouver, Washington.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, where Mount St. Helens is.
Right. And so I really want to do the Ontario Americans as like a but yeah, we got a lot of that. A lot of people think that, right? And so but what I do think is great is like a team like this and people talk, there's an Ontario, California. Look, we're 30 miles east of LA.
Yeah.
Downtown LA from Dodger Stadium. We're maybe 32 I got 34 miles. We're close.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ontario's a big town. It's a big area. It's growing like crazy. But Ontario's in Canada's a big province, so it's it's different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Alan, this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate you hopping on. I know that you're busy right now, starting up a brand new team and getting everything rolling. So I appreciate you taking time out to chat about this team and gloat about your Dodgers a little bit.
No, well, I mean, come on.
I'll tell you, that's a hell of a team. That lineup is just a murderer's row. So I don't blame you. I don't blame you, and I wouldn't be surprised.
I grew up in LA.
Yep.
I've been a Dodger fan my whole life, so this is unique, and I'm very thankful.
Yeah. It's my problem as a Phillies fan is I want to hate them, but like. I love Mookie Betts. I love Shohei Ohtani. Freddie Freeman, now that he's not a Brave anymore, he's fun to watch. So it's actually like a really likable team, which I sort of hate, So
that's true. That's true.
Alan, thanks very much. Hey, where can people find the team online, social media? Where can they order some merch?
Pretty simple. TowerBuzzers.com. Just look Tower Buzzers on Facebook, Instagram, Tower Buzzers. Go to our website, towerbuzzers.com. We are constantly updating all our new merch coming in.
All right. Well, let's not go another decade without talking again.
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
All right. Good luck to you in the offseason. Best of luck in 2026.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Welcome back. Hey, I have designer Dan Simon on the line. Dan is the gentleman who created the brand for this brand new Ontario Tower Buzzers that we've just been talking about with Alan Benavides. Dan, good morning. Hello, how are you?
Good morning to you, Paul. I am fantastic. Thank you for asking.
Dan, there are now 4 teams, I guess 3 current teams that have logos that feature bees. I guess you could count the Augusta Green Jackets as well. So let's say 4 affiliated teams have logos with bees in them. You've got the obviously the Salt Lake Bees in Salt Lake City, Utah. The Burlington Bees. What state are the Burlington Bees in, Dan? Where are they?
Burlington, Iowa.
They are in
I've
Burlington.
actually been to a Burlington Bees game, not on a baseball trip. I was with my older son, Cooper, who, whereas my son Casey was a baseball player, Cooper was a cyclist, a
Huh?
bicyclist, and he was a competitive cyclist. And it was 3 days in 3 different cities, all in that general area. And when we were in Burlington, we went to a Burlington Bees game.
That is notable because you created that brand for the Burlington Bees. That is your Bees band.
Indeed.
Your Bees brand, I should say. A Bees band would be fun as well. And then who am I leaving out?
There was or were the New Britain Bees. I don't know if they're still a team. Do you know?
I don't think that they are a team anymore, but the New Britain Bees had a bee swinging a bat. There were also the Binghamton Mets, who had, I believe, Buddy Bee was their mascot, and it was a Guy Gilchrist creation. And then, obviously, we mentioned the Augusta Green Jackets as well. This brand that you created has not only one bee, has bee character in it, which has one really fun detail, which is one of my favorite things of anything you've ever done, Dan, and we'll talk about that. So you've got the bee character, but then you also have this more illustrative, designy bee that is not a character, but is meant to emulate the airplane buzzing the tower. So let's start with the bee character and then this other bee, this more illustrative bee. The bee character is a lot of fun, even though he is not featured in the primary logo. So why is this character, which would so often be the centerpiece of a minor league brand, why is he relegated to the secondary logos, whereas this other bee, this more illustrative bee, is in the primary brand?
We actually started, when putting pencil to paper, we started with the bee character because we knew this is a single A club. We knew we wanted a character in the identity, but one of the powers that be had a vision for the primary logo of a bee buzzing the tower, and that being visually represented in the primary logo without it including the character bee. The character bee would be way too busy anyway to have when you have other things like a tower in there. The flying bee would have to be reduced down so small that too much detail in such a small object.
This character, Dan, is a lot of fun. You and I chatted about this when I wrote the article for sportslogos.net, that the other bee characters, for the most part, are swinging bats rather than catching a ball. They usually are not wearing a glove. Buddy Bee is in kind of a superhero pose. But, for the most part, these bees are more playing offense than defense. This guy is playing defense. He's got a glove. He's running. He's got his arms outstretched. There's one detail that I love about this, but before we get to that, in general, why did you make the choice to have him wearing a glove rather than swinging a bat?
Because of the aforementioned previously existing bee logos out there, they tend, not all of them, but a number of them tend to be swinging or holding or otherwise involved with a bat, or the bat involved with the character, and wanted to do something that didn't seem reminiscent of something that was already out there, bee related.
So the bee character has kind of a childlike quality to him. There's something you told me when I wrote that Sports Logos article that I just found super endearing that played into the childlike nature of this character. What was that thing?
Well, because of the position of his legs, it's kind of like when Superman takes off from the ground. So he's like taking off with arms outstretched because he's catching a ball. So he's leaping forward, flying to catch it. But his arms are out straight, like a child who's running and pretending he's or she is an airplane flying. And not just a child, but recently, very recently, like this week or last week, a Major League Baseball player retired, Brett Phillips. We could ask Anna DiTomaso about this. I believe he was with the Tampa Bay Rays at the time, and he hit a walk-off, and in celebration after the winning run scored, he was running around the field with his arms like that. Do you remember that happening?
Yes, I do. Dan, I love that detail about this character. Just, I mean, it just is so playful and fun. Made more fun in my mind by the fact that he has wings. He doesn't have to pretend to fly, right? Like, but he kind of is anyway. The other detail about this character is that he's not wearing newfangled tower buzzing gear, and that's not just because the movie Top Gun is 40 years old by the time this team takes the field for the first time. He's wearing old-fashioned, I guess I should say. I don't know if old-fangled is an official term or not, but he's wearing old-fashioned pilot's gear. He's got the red scarf. He's got the sort of leather-looking helmet and the goggles up over his eyes. He doesn't have the goggles above his eyes, not over his eyes. So why is he wearing old-timey pilot stuff instead of the newfangled stuff?
Would you call it old-timey, but if newfangled means new, wouldn't that headgear he's wearing be fangled?
Oh, just fangled.
Yes.
So not old fangled, but just fangled.
Okay. Well, anyway, the answer to your question is because the old-timey or fangled headgear for pilots is just more visually appealing than the newfangled or modern helmets that they wear. It just looks better. It's more, it's leather, it's organic, it's just nicer to look at and makes for a better logo.
Yeah. Maybe a happy accident here that also I think plays into the fact that this airport that we're celebrating in this brand is 100 years old, 100 plus years old. So, there is surely this gear is part of that airport's extensive history. A couple other things I want to talk about, Dan. One, there is a logo that very much looks like a pin a child would get when you got on an airplane. It's the beehive made up of rounded horizontal stripes integrated with a set of wings that look like a pin that you would get, for a kid getting on an airplane. Those two forms came together to form very nicely, one sort of visual element there. What was the thinking in combining a beehive and a pair of wings into one visual?
Well, we already had our character. We had the primary logo that we've described that includes the air traffic control tower. And in looking to build out the brand identity system, I was looking for other elements. And when you're looking for those, for ideas for other elements, if you have a character, whether that character is a bee or a bear or a cowboy or whatever, you try to think about, well, what kind of accoutrements are connected to or associated with that particular character. There's not a lot of things associated with bees. You have beehives, you have the pattern that is made in the beehive, which can be and used as a pattern. But anyway, so we had the wings that you mentioned look like the pin given to a little kid when they fly on an airplane, if they're lucky enough to get one, and if they behave themselves.
Right.
But also, those are the pins worn by the pilots flying the planes. That's why those are the things they give to kids. So anyway, we had those two elements, and I just thought either one of them by itself would be okay, but combining the two is a great way to combine the bee with the aviation theme.
The other logo that I want to talk to you about, because as you mentioned, you worked with the Dodgers for 6 seasons. This team is not owned by the Dodgers, but you did some things visually to tie them to their parent club. Color choices, obviously, I think, those color choices feel very Dodgersy, even if the Pantone color may not be exactly the same. We've talked about that before.
Okay, you've gotten into Pantone discussions with friend of the show, Todd Radom. And I think it's something that you kind of really love and enjoy, talking about that type of minutia. Here's the story on that. Let's see if this is interesting podcast fodder.
I can't wait for this.
The as you mentioned, I worked for the Dodgers for 6 seasons, and so I am well acquainted with their Pantone color, which is 294. And if you look at their cap and you compare it, if you have a Pantone guide and you compare their official Pantone color to the actual color of their cap and frankly of the lettering and numbers, lettering on the front, numbers on the back of their jersey, it's not even close. There are two. New Era offers two royal blue cap fabrics. One is called light royal, one is called dark royal. The light royal is darker than Pantone 294. The Dodgers use the dark royal. I would actually say the dark royal is closer to navy blue than it is to royal blue. Oddly enough, maybe once you get it out there in the sun with the sun shining on it, maybe it brightens it up a bit. But the actual blue on field for the Los Angeles Dodgers is considerably darker than their official Pantone color. So for this brand identity, I chose to use a darker Pantone color for their royal blue than what the Dodgers use. And I for whatever it's worth, it's Pantone 286. But even that blue is still lighter than the on-field tackle twill for the lettering and numbers and cap fabric for their caps. It's still lighter, but it's at least closer to it. And even I'm saying this here, but I guarantee you not a single person, even a graphic designer, would look at the brand identity elements that I have created in their digital form and say, that doesn't look like Dodger blue.
Well, I do love this conversation. And it's probably, even for this podcast, a little nerdier than usual. But one of the reasons to bring it up in the context of the Dodgers is there's like a whole fan group that's actually named after the Pantone 294. Like there's a website, Pantone294.com. And I've seen this group of Dodgers fans before. I've seen them at, I think, Coors Field, and they show up and they wear their Dodgers stuff, and they have Pantone 294 like on their actual gear.
The Los Angeles Dodgers still use Pantone 294.
Oh.
I didn't use it for this identity, and I didn't use it for the Oklahoma City Comets identity for the same reason I just talked about.
Well, the Oklahoma City Comets actually tie directly into this question I'm about to ask you, because you created a stair-step typographic interlocking letter logo for the Comets, and you also created a stair-step interlocking typographic logo for this team, reminiscent, of course, of the stair-step LA that is their iconic logo. Obviously this is 3 letters rather than 2, and it is ONT, which is the airport code for this Ontario airport that we are celebrating with this brand. That's obviously something that has become, intimately associated with the Dodgers, and, you're carrying it over into their minor league brands. Was it a challenge to emulate the iconic interlocking LA with the letters ONT?
I would not say it was a challenge. There are some letters that might work better. There are some letters that are more difficult. In this case, there's one thing that's not ideal in it. The letter T has serifs coming down off of either end of the top horizontal. And when that T interacts with the N, you don't really see where that serif begins and ends. You do in the embroidery. Here, I'm going to show you. This is not great podcast.
Yeah, for the listener at home.
You probably won't even be able to see it, but can you see?
I can see it. The T, so you're showing me the embroidered ONT that shows up on the cap, and you see that serif on the T very clearly in a way that does not show up, in the digital file.
Boy, see, we're really getting into details here that
I love it. I love it. Well, Dan, there's obviously, so much to talk about with this brand. This has really been a lot of fun. Blue, red, light blue, yellow, primary colors, really fun minor league brand, great character, and tied to the parent club without being named for the parent club, and ties into the local history. So there's a lot of really fun stuff here in this brand. Brand new on the minor league baseball scene here. So it's definitely a fun one to talk about. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, which I know is a busy schedule, to chat about it. We're going to see you. We're going to go talk to Ranger Amy now, and then we'll see you on the other side with a Studio Simon Stumper.
You're right. I am very busy, so I'm going to go back and
Yeah.
as soon as I hop off here, I'm going to go design something, and then I'll come back for a stumper.
Baseball by Design listeners worldwide, it is my honor to introduce to you the official Baseball by Design wildlife correspondent, musical enthusiast, and national anthem extraordinaire, Ranger Amy Burnett.
All right, everyone, welcome back. First of all, thank you, Pat Larson, once again for that great intro.
Yeah, thank you, Pat.
Ranger Amy, before we get going, I want to acknowledge a little bit of sad news in the Baseball by Design universe right now. Not too long ago, we lost our mutual friend, Yodel the cat. We had Yodel the cat was 19 years old. Listeners of this podcast will know Yodel from her distinctive meow that appeared on some of our episodes every once in a while. She did. So she was my very good little friend and your very good little friend, and she was a great cat, and we miss her very much. And listeners of this podcast know that I've talked about Yodel before, so I thought you and I, since we were Yodel's friends, we should acknowledge the loss of Yodel.
Can we dedicate this episode to you?
This episode of Baseball by Design is hereby dedicated to Yodel the cat.
Yodel.
Passed away at the age of 19, the ripe old age of 19. She was such a good little friend. So cheers to Yodel.
To Yodel.
Yeah, Yodel the cat.
She was a good cat.
We're talking today about a team called the Tower Buzzers, the Ontario Tower Buzzers. They have a bee-based logo. You and I have talked about bees before.
We have.
You were
Salt Lake Bees.
You were a guest on an episode about the Salt Lake Bees.
Mhm.
So we'll talk about some, generic sort of bee things. But this team is called the Tower Buzzers. The reason they have a bee in their logo is the buzzing. So I want to just jump right in with what's up with the buzzing? Why do bees buzz?
Well, what do you think that they buzz?
Their wings are going so fast.
Super fast, right?
Is that what it is? Their wings?
So that's one of the reasons, but there are many reasons. It's actually kind of complicated. How much time do you have? I'll try to make it brief. They, on average, about at 230 times a second, they're vibrating their wings.
230 times 1 second.
1 second.
Wow.
Super,
Okay.
super, super fast.
Yeah.
So that's what you might be hearing. So they're vibrating their wings to fly, and you're hearing that sound.
Okay.
But they're also doing it intentionally to communicate.
Oh, yeah? So they don't just communicate with butt wiggling?
We'll get into that in a second.
All right.
No. So they actually communicate with their wing buzzing, because how many people here listening have been too close to a hive and you hear the volume and the pitch of the wings go, the vibrations go up? It's not your ears fooling you. It's really happening. Like the speed of the wings will speed up, and then the pitch will go up. And that's a way that the other bees are alerting other members of the hive that there's a potential threat.
Okay. So when they fly by your head and you do like this sort of SWAT thing, always way too late. You're never going to SWAT the bee.
No.
That's just because their wings are buzzing. But then they will actually use their wings to communicate with one another.
Right.
Signs of
Hey,
danger.
there's a big doofy human being nearby. So let's, sting him.
What about a bear?
Or a bear. It's trying to steal their honey, right?
Yeah.
You got to warn these other bees.
Yeah. Okay.
And then another reason that a bee would buzz is we associate the buzzing with their wings, right?
Yeah.
But they're actually also vibrating their abdomen. Wow.
Vibrating their abdomen.
They're vibrating muscles in their abdomen. So it's not just their wings. It's also the muscles in their abdomen.
And that makes it, but they can do that fast enough that it buzzes?
Yeah. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
But we have to do like a little. So I told you I was going to make you exercise.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Stand up.
I'm not going to stand. I'm going to be too far from the microphone. There's no way. It can't be done.
You can just pretend.
Okay. Now I'm standing.
All right. So this is head, shoulders, knees, and toes, but we're going to learn about the parts of the bee.
Okay, heads, shoulders, knees, and toes.
Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen,
Heads, thorax, abdomen, abdomen.
head, thorax.
I'm not singing if that's what you're trying to get me to do.
Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. Say that.
Head, thorax, abdomen, abdomen. So they have two abdomens?
No.
Or that's just for
No,
the
that's just for the
musical
song.
license in the song. Okay.
So those are the three parts of the bee.
Okay.
So the abdomen muscles are the ones that buzz. So
Okay.
they're also vibrating those muscles in their abdomen because they are trying to get the flower to essentially mate with them.
Oh,
All right, maybe I'm taking a little bit of license there.
Yeah.
But a flower is not going to release all of its pollen just because you land on it.
right.
You have to
Trust me, I know.
Oh my God. You have to like vibrate in a certain way in order to get the flower to be okay with releasing the pollen.
So is this where we talked about the butt wiggling?
It's different. That's different. We'll come back to that.
Oh, we're gonna come back to that.
This-
Okay.
Just this is the buzzing part that you were asking.
Okay.
about.
All right. I did
This
ask
is
you
just-
specifically to
yeah,
focus
this
on
is
buzzing.
Just the buzzing part.
Yeah.
So what's crazy about this is like if you are a gardener and you're like, oh, I'll just self-pollinate the plants that I have in my garden. Well, you might not be able to do that, especially with like blueberries and tomatoes. Those are things that have to be vibrated at a certain frequency in order to have the pollen be released. So you need a bee to do that. So we'd be kind of out of luck without bees because we need bees to pollinate things. We can't just do it all ourselves.
Well, bees are great. It's one of the reasons they make adorable mascots. This little guy for the
Let me stop you
tower
right there.
buzzard.
It's not a guy.
The mascot is not a guy?
No, it's a girl.
Oh, how come?
Because all the worker bees are female.
Oh, well, how do you know this bee's working?
Well, the only thing that the male bees do is mate. That's it.
So this bee out there catching a fly ball, pretending like he's a little kid taking off with his arms, that's a female bee.
Yeah. I'm
There you go.
sorry. I've messed up your whole podcast.
No, it's
episode.
great because Dan is always very good. Dan Simon is always very good about saying he or she or it, like to not gender non-gendered mascots.
You should have put some eyelashes on it.
Oh, he could have had eyelashes. He could have had eyelashes. I said she could have had eyelashes.
Yeah, I mean, the male bees are always called drones,
Okay,
and the female bees are the worker bees,
all right.
just as in real life.
So if a bee is flying past a tower in an airport,
Yes.
if it's buzzing the tower in the airport,
Yes.
is it gonna make some stuffed suit spill his coffee?
Possibly. I mean, but it's very, very quiet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so probably not.
Maybe we should make some like tank tops for women that have like little cute little female bees on there.
There's any tank top that the tower buzzers are selling apparently already has female bees on it,
Oh.
right? That's what you just said.
Well, I mean, they don't look like female bees. Is what
I
I'm
see.
trying
I
to
see.
say.
You want them specifically gendered that way. Okay.
But yeah, seriously, the only job of the drone bee has is to mate with the queen.
Okay.
Specifically, all the bees that you see outside, the ones that are going to sting you, they're all the female bees. They're the worker bees.
All right. Well, the last question I had then, you said we were going to get back to it.
Yeah.
The butt wiggling. We talked about it when we talked about the.
Waggling, not
the-
wiggling.
But tell me what is this parsing that we're doing here? Wiggling versus waggling?
Waggling is what bees do. They call it waggling.
I see.
But it's very, very cool in a nerdy way. And I can try to be quick about because you can, if you search it on YouTube, you can get some really cool like things, videos with visuals that are really actually really interesting. So they've done studies on this, and you can tell not only the direction but also the distance of a specific group of flowers that might yield like a whole ton of nectar for this particular beehive based on how one female bee waggles back in the hive.
How about that? The waggling.
She's doing her little waggling for all the other female bees. And they're all watching. They're like, okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't go to Ross. Go to Kohl's. That's where the sales are. Okay. And it's this far away. So it's basically social media for bees. They're all communicating to say, this is where you need to go today. And it's based on the orientation of the sun.
Whoa.
And so it's actually a direct, not only just general direction, but it's the angle of the sun, and there's a direct angle of how you can how they are waggling their butt, and then their abdomen,
Oh yeah.
and then how
Head, thorax, abdomen.
abdomen. That's
Yeah.
right. Good job. And then the duration of the waggle tells you how far away from the hive that like particular treasure trove of nectar is.
Bees are pretty cool. This logo is pretty cool. The Ontario Tower Buzzers. At the time of this recording, you and I are actually watching Game 1 of the National League Championship Series with the Tower Buzzers parent club, the Dodgers,
Oh,
tied
that's cool.
0-0 with the Milwaukee Brewers in Game 1 here. So
That's not the only coincidence that's happening.
what's the other coincidence?
It's Indigenous Peoples Day, also Columbus Day. Why is that relevant to this story?
Why that?
Because we wouldn't have bees if it weren't for the colonists.
Oh,
So bees, as we know it, the honeybees that we know of that are used for pollinating most things, most crops, and where we get most of our honey from in this country are all introduced bees that were brought over by the colonists in the 1600s.
how interesting is that?
Isn't that cool? Isn't
Yeah,
that cool?
I had no idea. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so these bees, everyone's worried about them dying out. We have like 20,000 different species of bees in this country, but most people just know of the honeybee and they're all introduced. So we have native bees that would keep on pollinating and we would be totally fine. But our crops depend on honeybees. Dun dun dun.
Ranger Amy,
That's more than we want to get into for today.
thanks for stopping by. That was a ton of fun.
You're welcome.
All right, everyone, welcome back. It is time once again for Studio Simon Stumpers. Dan, I'm sorry to interrupt the work that you were doing while you were waiting to come back here. What were you working on? What was the project? I won't tell anyone, I promise.
It was a brand identity for a minor league baseball team.
Finally, you're finally breaking into that scene. Dan, we got bees, airports, 1986 movies, cities in California that sound like they should be in Canada. And so many things that a Studio Simon Stumper could be. How many Ontarios are there in the United States? That would be a good one.
Yeah, actually, that would be. So, Paul,
Yes.
obviously your listeners know that you previously on this episode spoke to me about the development of this brand identity. You asked me many a question.
Mhm.
But one of the things you did not bring up was the fact that here we have an aviation themed identity, a team called the Tower Buzzers, which suggests an airplane or jet, more specifically, an aircraft, let's call it that. Yet nowhere does an aircraft appear in this brand identity.
Mm-hmm.
So that got me to thinking of other aviation themed brand identities in baseball that do or do not have aircraft in them. So our Studio Simon Stumper today asks, which of these aviation themed minor league baseball clubs did not have a logo featuring an aircraft in their visual brand identity history? Is it A, the Lancaster Jethawks, B, the Grand Prairie and later the Texas Air Hogs, that's an independent minor league team, or C, the Lakeland Flying Tigers? Which one of those three identities did not anywhere feature an aircraft?
Your Jethawks. That was yours, right? You did that one?
I did indeed.
If I recall, that one had a Sam the Eagle bird plane. So I think that Jethawks had like a combination like bird / airplane. So I think that counts as an airplane. The Air Hogs, I remember the Air Hogs focusing more on the pig than the airplane. Now, the Flying Tigers. The main imagery on their logo is the tiger face with wings. But I know for certain that there's an alternate that has an actual airplane in it for the Flying Tigers. So I'm going to say, based on that, Dan, that it is the Air Hogs who had a pig rather than an airplane as their brand identity.
Final answer?
Final answer.
And your final answer is correct.
Hot diggity.
What you described, you mentioned that I did the Lancaster Jethawks brand identity. I actually did their brand identity, developed their brand identity three different times. Their original one for the 1997 season, a 2001 brand update, and then their 2008 brand update. They just wanted to keep updating their identity, and God bless them, they came back to me each time. So that was great, although that team no longer exists. So it did indeed include a jet with a hawk head mashup, and that does count as an aircraft.
Yeah.
But that 2008, the most recent of their three brand identities, did not feature a plane or a jet or any type of aircraft in any way, shape, or form. But as I worded
You said in their history.
In their visual brand identity history. And you were correct that Lakeland has a secondary logo that features a military airplane. It's a roundel that says Tigertown, USA, with the airplane in the center. And you were correct that the Grand Prairie and later Texas Air Hogs chose to feature the pig or hog itself. I could not really find much in the way of secondary logos for them, and their logo had a profile of a pig with goggles on its head, and then like a wing, not a wing like on an airplane, but a wing like on like a pilot's pin wings, like we discussed in this buzzer's identity. He had a single wing coming off it, like in that manner. So nowhere did that identity feature in any type of aircraft.
I'm glad I got this one right, because this was one where I actually had to picture the brands and think about them, and you almost got me there with the Flying Tigers, because I was like, well, the Tigers have a tiger and wings, and it's not an airplane. But then I remembered their secondary brands, because they have a bunch of secondary brands. That's a grandiose one, the Flying Tigers. I don't know who created the Air Hogs.
Nor do I. But when I am doing this, trying to come up with stumpers for you, one of the things I realize is, I shouldn't say I realize, I assume, is that you might be more familiar with affiliated minor league identities than independent. Would you say that is the case?
Probably the case, just because there are so many different kinds of unaffiliated baseball, and yeah, it's easier to keep track of the affiliated ones, I think.
Right. They also, I guess, get more press because they're affiliated with major league teams. But when I was doing my research to see what types of logos the Air Hogs had, I was familiar with their identity. I could picture it in my head, but I didn't know necessarily what all of the logos were that they had. And I saw that you had done a story behind the nickname on sportslogos.net for them. So I figured you would have a good chance of getting this one correct.
Dan, as always, a ton of fun. And we'll see you again a week from now. It is logo unveiling season. So I know that there are probably teams that you were working on 2 years ago that you've completely forgotten about that are going to unveil logos, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember working on that.
There was actually 2 that were unveiled just last night that I had no idea were going to be unveiled last night. No idea. I had people texting me, and it's like, oh, thanks for letting me know.
I'll bet you I know what they are, and we'll talk about that another time. In the meantime, Dan, we'll see you next week.
I'm looking forward to it. I hope you have a great week, and see you 1 week from now.